Welcome to Miss V, the Storyteller podcast. You guys, I'm so excited because it's season 4. Can you believe it's been 4? It's season 4. Our sister have been working hard, but I'm so excited about this season because this season I am highlighting some amazing women. These women are entrepreneurs and they are doing their thing. I mean, when I say they're doing their thing, they are doing their thing. And I'm so excited because my first guest is my mentor. She is helping Miss V to get all her things in place. She is amazing, not only in business, but also spiritually. And oftentimes you don't get that on the, sometimes you don't get that. You don't get both. You get either the business or the spiritual. Well, we get everything. And I am so excited that she is here. Y'all know I can ramble. I am not going to ramble. Ericka, please tell us about yourself. Her name is Ericka James. Sorry, I was so excited.
Ah, hello. I'm so glad to be here. So excited. And like you, I'm like, fourth season? That
Mhm.
is incredible. So my name's Ericka James. I'm a speaker, trainer, course creator. And what I really do, though, even though I've got a couple of organizations through which I do it, I help people get clear about who God created them to be and then build that business and sometimes a ministry that they have been called to build. And so I do that as a world-class speaker and trainer with the Convergence Center. And then I also have the Alliance, which is a training organization for ambitious Christian businesswomen. So excited. I love supporting people and making success safe and us all up leveling together. So that is something I'm really passionate about.
Well, I just love it because I am over here gleaning from everything that she puts out, you guys. She is an amazing woman. But you know how I love stories, and I believe stories has the ability to change lives, to uplift us, to encourage us. So that's why we have Miss V, the Storyteller podcast, is because I want women to come and to share stories so that we know that we are not alone, that we all struggle, that we've all been through something, and we've all came out of it on the other side. So I am going to sit back and allow Ericka to share her story with us today. So you guys just sit back and just glean. When I tell you to glean, she is so powerful. I want you to listen. So Ericka, go ahead and share your story with us.
Yeah, there were so many stories that, you could tell in your life, but the one that kind of illuminated itself to share, and I'm going to take you all back about 24, 25 years ago. Well, actually, I'm going to take you back further to give you context. But I started my own business when I was 18, grew up in a successful entrepreneurial business, got to see my parents just work that thing and build a multi-million dollar business that I started working in at the age of 5. And somewhere along the way, the DNA to become an entrepreneur was in my blood, not just from my parents, but from 4 generations back. And so my life circumstance ended up such because I could do a speaking engagement, I could write an amazing talk, I could do a training curriculum, but no one taught me anything about men. I grew up out in Olympia, Washington. I call it Lily Whiteville at the time, not so much anymore. And just never had boyfriends, never even had the experience of someone I had a crush on crushing back on me. And so took all that inner damage where externally it was being in leadership, doing all these things, took all of that on my life journey with me. And by the time I ended up graduating from college out at Howard University in DC and was staying out in DC, loving it, ended up, I'm just going to fast forward through this part,
No, that's
ended up
fine.
ended up pregnant by a man who married another woman when I was carrying his child at 3 months. So it was just the devastation of that. And becoming a single mother was actually beyond my worst nightmare. I didn't even have a nightmare about it. And so here I am, 3,000 miles away from home, having this child. And so when she was about 7 months, I decided to move back home. At the time, I was working with a best-selling author, and it was just like, I have to go. I've got to go do my thing. So I'm home raising my daughter, stayed with my parents for a minute, which was like the walk of shame, right? You leave as
Mm-hmm.
the child that literally was voted the most likely to succeed in high school. And I'm back in my parents' house with my baby, a single mom. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
So I had to just pick myself up and ended up moving to Seattle and getting jobs. I was like, okay, dreams, you're just going to have to take a back seat. Those workshops, those seminars, hold on, I'll get back to you. I need to breathe right now. And I remember it was my 29th birthday. And I was it was my 30th birthday. I was 29, turning 30, and felt like I was literally floating away from my dream, from my destiny. I knew what it was, but just was overwhelmed, just drowned in the reality of single mothering, single parenting. And so I remember on my 30th birthday, I went to the bank and I didn't tell anybody, but I remember at the end of the day, I had to go to the bank, and the woman looks at my birthday on my license. And it was a significant birthday to me because by age 30, I had on my goals
Mm-hmm.
list, I was to be a millionaire,
Mm-hmm.
have a world-class business, all of these things. And I found myself miserable with a 5-year-old child that I couldn't get away. I mean, she literally was like a mama's girl. Like I couldn't even breathe. She's like, Mama, and was just suffocating, working in the work world. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody it's my birthday because this was the birthday of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the bank, show the woman my license, and she was about 18, and she says, "Oh, it's your birthday. Happy birthday." And I completely fell out. Oh,
Oh
I was like,
no,
I was supposed to be rich. I just went up in the bank, and the woman is looking like I'm literally on the counter
no.
crying.
Oh my God.
He's looking around like security. You know, I'm just whatever. But that's the state I was in. And so stayed in the work world. And when my daughter was 5, was literally suffocating. And I said, I've had enough. If I'm going to be here and take up oxygen, I understand I don't have a penny saved. I understand all of that. I got to get out of corporate America because I had this sense that if I don't take advantage of this now, I'm going to miss the window.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had been sitting by the lake. I lived out in Seattle at the time. So I would drop my daughter off at kindergarten and go sit by the lake and just sit with the Lord. And what am I supposed to do? And he had me write out my ideal life. Write out
Wow.
your ideal. And I remember writing this down. I said, I'm really good at helping people access their greatness, but not just access it, but do something with it. And I developed this whole little job description for myself and realized without having language, what I was describing 25 years ago was coaching. I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
but I said, I want to come off the stage and walk through transformation with people. And so I didn't know what that was called. I didn't know how to do it. But what I did know is there wasn't a job that existed for me, and I was going to have to make my own. I said, okay, let's gear up. God
Yes.
showed the next step. And all of that is the precursor to this particular point in my life. So I was working at a staffing agency. It was August 2001. And I was like, I have got to get out of here. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know what's next. And I went outside because the office was in downtown Seattle. So I went outside for lunch with the bustling sidewalk. It looked like what you'd see on the movies with people moving everywhere, focus trying to do their thing. And I hear this external audible voice say, over here, over all of the people's voices, all of the movement, all of the chatter. And
Mm-hmm.
I stop in the middle of the sidewalk and I'm looking around. No one else hears this voice over here. And there's been a handful of times I've heard the external audible voice of God, and I knew that was one of them. So I'm walking, going, I don't know where over here is. All I saw was a rack of newspapers and then the road. And so I just kind of walked to the direction that I was being pulled toward. And I'm looking at this bank of newspaper those boxes that you open and
Yeah.
there's newspapers. There used to be newspapers, y'all. If you only get your news online, there used to be lines on the
Yes.
box with
You're
different.
aging yourself.
Right. You would just open it up and get it. You didn't get everything online then. And so one of them, I knew I was in front of the right one. Well, what it was a learning annex brochure, which at the time was a series of classes that the city of Seattle put on. And it was lunchtime was over. I headed back to my office. I knew I had what I was supposed to have because I kept hearing that voice over here, over here, over here. Go back to the office. And in Seattle, you don't drive into downtown. Everybody takes buses. So I couldn't wait to get on the bus on the way home. And I'm paging through this magazine, this learning annex, and there's wonderful classes on interior design, how to paint, how to do pottery, how to public speak. And I'm going, Lord, you are trying to get my attention. What is it? And I
Yeah.
opened and it said becoming a professional personal coach. Do you crave seeing people be their best and helping them walk through
Yes.
transformation? I never heard that word before. I didn't know there was a thing called coaching that wasn't a sports coach. And I signed
Mm.
up for the class. The class was September 11th, 2001. And I woke up that morning so excited to go to class. And that's when the World Trade Center had its experience and literally they blew up. And I
Wow.
remember thinking, I'm sure everybody else is good with class, but I'm going to call in because I'm going to become a coach. I just can't do it today. And went through everything the rest of the country went through. They rescheduled the class. And that's when I got on track to become a professional personal coach. And did not look back. This was before people even knew what coaching was. Nobody
Mm.
had self development budgets. I would say I'm a success coach. People would say, what sport do you coach?
Oh,
And so,
yeah.
yeah, it's been such a wonderful journey, but it's been, a reminder of faith to not let go of your dreams, no matter what your circumstance looks like. There is no plan B. All you have to do is plan your escape from plan B to get back to plan A.
Yeah.
I was on a plan B life, and that's not who I was called to be. And then, secondly, it was about being fearless, where I'm like, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I'm going to step out. And within, I think, 3 weeks, I left my job after taking the class that was rescheduled. And I started my own coaching, speaking, training, and development company full time. I had been doing it part time for years, but full time the day my daughter started kindergarten and have not looked back. And so glad because that journey brought even us together because I said,
Yes.
hey, and God got my attention above the crowd in crowded downtown Seattle. So that's the
Oh,
story I want to share.
I love this story and I learned something else about you today. I love it. That's why I love when people tell stories because sometimes you'll look at someone and you'll make in your mind you'll make like a thing about them. You'll say, "Oh, she is just a fabulous person. She's never been through anything."
They've
And
never
we
had a bad day in their life ever. Yeah.
Right. We do that oftentimes,
Yeah.
but that's why I love the stories because when you share the story, we're looking at you and like, oh my God, this woman is amazing. But she done broke down crying in the bank, because she's turning 30. Who would have thought it? And some of the other things you just shared, you just wouldn't think. And that's why I love stories. But as you were talking, I kept in my mind, I had a little bit of a story I wanted to share, but this story keeps just coming out to me. So this is kind of sort of how Ericka and I met. I was invited to what we call the Eagles Roundtable by my BFF, and she invited me to come, and I went, and I was sick that day, couldn't talk. I mean, my voice was gone. I couldn't talk. And I think God allowed me to do that because I probably would have been just talking to Katrina, been doing all kinds of things. God is like, no, I want you to listen. I didn't learn this until later. I want you to listen. So I'm sitting there and Ericka is training and teaching. That's the day when it was prophetically told to me that I was going to be a storyteller. Well, I'm thinking writing books. Because when somebody says storyteller, you immediately think about your teacher sitting down with the book flipping it and reading, reading the book. Or you may think about someone standing on stage and just telling a story, which that is a part of it, but it's so many other facets to being a storyteller. So my mind went to writing. Well, I had already knew because I had been writing books, and it was like, no, 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 no. I see you standing up before people, teaching, training, and all that. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you talking to me? This person right here, first of all, she can't talk, and she had been talking for I don't know how many years before now. So I sat down and I was taking notes, and in my mind I kept saying, this lady up here, I'm sure she hears from God, but she may have the wrong person. That's exactly what I thought. I said she might have the wrong person, but I'm gonna flow with it. So I went with it, and I listened to the other women that were in the room, and the more I listened to what was going on, that question about she got the wrong person, it began to diminish some. Like maybe she owned to something here. We're gonna see. So as I would later on, me and Katrina, we talked about it, and as I was driving home, I'm riding in the car and I'm thinking about everything that had happened, and I'm saying to myself, okay, she said that you said, God, that I was going to be a storyteller. And I said, in that moment, I'm going to believe and I'm going to trust. When I got home, immediately, I started to look up storytelling. I was signing up for classes. I was doing everything because I believed in her that she really did hear from God. And God allowed me through probably within 3 months, it was me. God was like, it was me. And this was during the pandemic, a little bit before the pandemic, before the world shut down. I found out that my mom was sick, and so I had to leave my job that I was working in the school system for. I had been working with the school system for about 4 years, and finding that mom was sick, I had to do what I had to do. So when you talk about leaving corporate and just going blind, I literally had to go blind. And God worked everything out. He worked it out so that I could take care of my mom, so that I could go on these classes. I even entered contests and won. I was like, if that's not God, because everybody was shocked that that was my first time that I was new. I had only been doing it for a couple of months to a year. So I am just letting you know, when God says something, he will use anyone. And if you're open to receive, trust me, you will be so blessed. And I am so glad on that ride home, as I was going through it, I said, okay, God, if you said she said it, I'm going to believe that you said it through her. And God was like, it's done. And that's why I'm before you today. So yes, you guys, listen. So Ericka, I have so many questions that's going through my mind. Now, I know for me, there was fear that set in. When I found out that my mom was sick, I had to leave my job. It wasn't one of those situations where I could just think about it. It was like, no, your mother is sick. You have to be there for her. So I was scared. I didn't know how I was going to pay for anything. The world was going crazy. My mama was sick. And now the Lord's talking about you going to be a storyteller. So fear set in heavily. At any point during your journey, did fear ever sit in? Like, it made you fearful? And if it was so, how did you overcome that fear?
Yeah, fear is a huge part of my assignment because nobody will do their purpose in fear. You know what I mean? We'll sabotage it at some point. And so I had to identify my fear and clear it before I stepped out. And you may hit it at every new level you go to. But there's one particular night I was up and I had moved into a 450 square foot apartment with my daughter because I said, I can pay this rent.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I went cold turkey, there was not a penny saved. I was like, we're going to figure out how to do this. I can pay this rent and start this business. but was terrified. I don't even think I was just fearful. I was terrified. Can I feed my child? Can I do this? And I wasn't historically a fearful person, but there was just something about the experience of single motherhood that just brought you to the reality. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
dreams were just like, woo, let me get through today. Let me get through this year. And I started to talk to God about the fear. And this is what he told me. He said, make a list of everything that you are afraid of right now.
Hmm.
And I remembered, I pulled out a piece of notebook paper with the blue lines, just good old school book, college rule paper. And I wrote all this stuff. And there's 33 lines on those pieces of paper. All 33 lines on the first piece was full.
Wow.
Over and filled the second 33 lines.
Oh my God.
And then I took it back to God. I said, okay, here it is. And he said, if you believed me for these things, would you still be in fear? And he said,
Hmm.
fear is a lack of belief in me and who I created you to be. And I went, oh my gosh.
Yes.
And that's at that point, I understood the definition of fear. I said, okay, so wherever I'm fearing, it is because I'm not in faith and I'm not believing
Hmm.
for it. So let me practice visualizing. Let me practice believing God for this. Let me feel it as if it's here. And that's what I learned to do at the very beginning.
Oh,
And
this
it
is
was
so
a night
good.
that I was like, I've got to get it was a series of nights. I've got to get this fearless message out. And I was recording it on a cassette tape.
What?
And I remember they were doing construction outside and I kept having to hit pause because the bulldozers were dropping boulders. Boom, boom. And so that was the first message I got. And it's where I go back to every time. Fear is a lack of belief and trust in God.
I
That's it.
love I love this. Oh my God. And as you're saying, we make lists about everything. We'll make a list, grocery list, things we need to do, honeydew lists. We make, when we're trying to, be positive, we'll make grateful lists, gratitude lists and all that. But whoever thought to sit down and write a list of fears? That is amazing. I got to do that because there's a couple of things that I need to write down. But I love that, once you write it down and you present it to God, it's like, okay, now, God, here. I'm going to trust that you're going to take care of everything on that list. But that is a journey and it takes time. What do you say to people who are, like, let's say, women entrepreneurs that's out there who have that? I trust God, but I don't trust God. You know how we can be visual. If we don't see something before us, if we don't see it, then doubt comes in and fear comes in. Because I know as entrepreneurs, we all have those seasons and we go through different kinds of seasons where doubt may set in or fear may set in. And I know some of the answers to that has to do with the heart, but I want the listeners to really understand that when you begin to go through those negative seasons, that there are things that can be done to help you through the season, but you have to go through it. So what is something that we can do when we're going through those seasons where we're in a little bit of disbelief or doubt?
Yeah. So if you trust God, you are 100% certain in the outcome. You may not know the how, you may not feel like it that day, but if you really trust God, you know that you know that you know in your head, in your heart, with all of your being that this business will work. I just have to figure out the success formula. So that's the first thing. We have to uplevel our spiritual lives and our faith. Most of us think faith is what is really hope. We're hoping it works. And hope is a precursor to faith, but faith is 100% certainty. You know what?
Hmm.
It's done. Let me show up every day. I know this is a multi-million-dollar business. I just have to show up and figure it out. And God will show me along the way, and I'm going to show up every day. And you have to have a big enough why, because your why has to be bigger than your pocketbook. It has to be bigger
Yes.
than your family. It has to be bigger than your own lifestyle. It has to be so big that it feels impossible. Because if it were possible, you don't need faith.
Right.
When it's
Absolutely.
impossible, you need faith. If it doesn't feel impossible, it's probably not God telling you to do it. So understand the bigness of it. And then we got to get our mindset right. Valeria, I am blown away at how quickly our own self-talk takes us out of the game.
It does.
And I was talking to a friend of mine. I went to dinner with a friend last night who years ago was coaching, putting on women's events, and we were just having girlfriend time. But she says, "Well, you're here, Erica. I know you can help me get clear, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do." And I said to her, I said, "The assignment hasn't changed. You're still supposed to empower and transform women's lives. The question is, will you say yes to it? Will you remove what's in the way mentally and remove the disappointment and remove all the times you put it out there and people didn't respond, the disappointment that people said they'd come and they didn't, the people that said they
Mm.
believed in when it came down to it, they were nowhere to be found. If you're willing to transform your mind and get what I call a Teflon mindset,
Hmm.
so when stuff in the world or people, or I don't care if it's your spouse, it tries to nitpick you down, you shut it down. A negative thought has 10 seconds or less to be in my mind. That's it. I don't have time for anything else.
Oh, love it.
Second thing is doing the heart work. We think
Yes.
business is over here, emotion and spirit's over here, but the heart of a leader and the heart of an entrepreneur has dealt with more disappointment than most human beings will ever experience in their entire life. If we do
So
not
true.
do heart work and deal with the hurt, deal with the disappointment, deal with the family that thinks we're crazy, deal with the people who didn't buy our book, deal with the people who didn't show up to the workshop, get into even dealing with whatever with God, with our trust and trusting that this is going to work. Like there's hard work that has to be done. And then in the natural, you got to show up. Most
Yes.
entrepreneurs, when they're transitioning from the work world into their job, they work it like a hobby. And a hobby gets hobby
Hmm.
results time. And if you show up and work it like it's a job, you show up at a time, you're not talking on the phone to friends during the day, you take your coffee break, you take your lunch break, you work into a certain time, you start with marketing, it can't help but to work
Absolutely.
if we work it. But we're the vessel that God has chosen to bring this through. We got to get the vessel right, and then we have to execute unapologetically and guard against those distractions. So no matter what is happening in your life, because I promise you, life will life.
Yes. Oh,
People
I
will
love it.
get
Now
sick.
you understand why she is so amazing.
Parents will age. Friends
Yes.
will pass away. So much happens. Spouses will lose their minds. Children will, all of this stuff. Life be lifing, as my daughter Kali says. And of that, can you develop a mindset of unapologetic focus and guard your time in a way that you
Yes.
actually can execute the things that you know you need to do? So that's been my process. And then I go back and go, oh my goodness, I'm about to go to a new level. There's some fear. What do I
Hmm.
do? Write it down, surrender it to God, vision it happening, do the hard work. You know what I mean? It's just a whole process for me. Align up my time. Let's go.
Oh, I love it. And as you were talking, it reminded me this morning when I was in my prayer and meditation, there was a scripture that I was reading, and it talks about not Joseph, the one Sarah's husband, Jeremiah, no, Sarah's the one that got pregnant. No,
Um, Goodness.
because he lost his voice. God to
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Okay, so this in the Bible, there's a story
I do
about
Zachariah.
this, and when God shared with him that his wife was going to become pregnant, and in his disbelief, his voice was taken away from him. He couldn't talk until the baby was born. And I was also reading about the seeds that we sow. And when you sow a certain seed, you can, your mouth can keep the seed from growing. And I thought about that scripture when his mouth was taken away. The reason why maybe his voice was taken away so that he wouldn't block the blessing and so the seed wouldn't grow. And I look back over my life, there's been times when God, my voice has gone. And it's because I don't want you to talk your way out of it. I don't want you to put negative words into the atmosphere and kill the seeds. Shh, be quiet. And this morning I was like, oh my goodness, because we can talk ourselves into and out of blessings.
Yes.
By our mouth. And that's why our tongue, they talk about our tongue so much, is because it has the power of life and death. And we need to do that in our businesses. If you feel it, just like Ericka says, 1 second, that negative thought, don't let it come out your mouth. And I'm working on that. I'm really working on putting positive thoughts and positive things out of my mouth. I don't want time to run out, because I know anyone that's listening, they're like, oh my God, I want more of her. I need to connect with her. So, Ericka, please tell us where. First of all, please give us a little snippet about the Alliance, and then tell everyone where they can connect with you, because I know there's people out there is like, if this is just a snippet of what she can do, oh my God, if I get in contact with her, she can just help me change the world and start this business. So please share, Ericka.
Or take that business from a hobby to actually a viable business. So
Amen.
the Alliance, I started the Alliance 16 years ago when actually 17 years ago when I transitioned from Seattle to Raleigh, North Carolina. And I was longing for highly called businesswomen that were unapologetically Christian and unapologetically called to build wealth and impact lives. And it didn't exist. I couldn't find a network or an organization to go to, or even a meeting. And so I started an organization with a friend at the time. And over the years, it has really morphed into understanding. It is training. It is sequential
Mm.
training that women need. There's no shortage of business information out there. We have more than ever now, but yet the bottom line in the success rate in the first 3 years of business has not ticked up at all. So I was trying to solve that problem. What is missing? And what I discovered is what's missing is sequenced business training that's in the order that your business needs it. And so that's what I've been building with the Alliance. We've got 2 chapters and a national chapter right now. The vision of it is to have 1,000 chapters around the world, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really for the easiest way I can put it is for ambitious Christian women entrepreneurs. If you know you're called to something big, I don't care if it's just a thought in your head right now or feeling in your stomach, but if you know you're called to build something big, you are the founder, you are bringing this thing forth. That's who the Alliance is for. And we give you the tools, we give you the support. We have several things that are available during the month to keep you plugged in, inspired, and really help you get to that high 6-figure and 7-figure business. That's what we're up to, because our vision needs to be provided for. And we love doing that through our businesses. So we're freed up with time, with resource, with treasure, and all of that. You can get more information at thealliancenet.com. That's thealliancenet.com. And then another place you can go, if you're like, okay, Eric, I've got this business. I want to start getting it out there. I need some creative ideas. One of the weakest links in so many of our businesses are marketing. So we put together a marketing guide called 140 Marketing Tips, Techniques, and Ideas. And you can go to 140, the number 140, marketingideas.com and grab your free copy. It's like a 25-page ebook with 140 different marketing ideas. And we walk you through how to prioritize. But really, it's about getting that thing that you built out in the world in a way that transforms and touches and changes lives.
Oh, thank you, you guys. Listen to me. I am a product of the Alliance. And I'm telling you, ladies, if you're out there, Christian women, women in general, if you're out there and you're like, I have this thing, I don't know quite what to do with it, you need to be a part of the Alliance. So I'm going to have all her information in the show notes. All you have to do is click on it and it will direct you to where you need to go. So, Ericka, thank you so much for coming on the show. I knew it was going to be wonderful. I am so glad that you agreed to be the first guest for season 4. And anyone out there, please connect with Ericka, because you not only will get the business aspect, but you also get the spiritual. And sometimes you need the spiritual. I mean, all the time you need the spiritual. So thank you again, Ericka, for being here.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me. I'll see you soon. Love you so much.
All right.